Hello, everyone. I'm Wally Wood, and this is the Revelation File report. We are going to go into a news update today to bring to your attention certain items that have come to our attention here of late in the news. And as we often do in a situation like this, when we involve videos and articles from other sources, we also present our disclaimer report at the very beginning. And again, this is the Revelation File News Forum. It's a production of the Revelation File News Service. From occasion, we also present, share information, articles, videos, and other materials that might be copyrighted. We give adequate recognition of all sources of the materials that we use. Our purpose is not financial profit, but to give education and information on matters deemed important to our audience at no cost to them. Free will offerings are welcomed into this ministry. Our first report today comes from our good friends at the Christian News Network, having to do with Christian persecution. Christians in India who refused to deny their faith left devastated after attack by extremists. From the International Christian Concern, on September 22nd, members of the Surya Adivasi Samaj, or the SAM terrorist group in India, summoned 15 Christian families to a meeting in a village located in the Kandagoan district. At this meeting, the Christians were told that they had to recant their faith or be forced to leave their homes. When the Christians refused, the religious fanatics attacked. According to one of the survivors of the attack, quoting, "We've been tortured for almost 3 weeks." End of quote. The terrorists demolished all the 15 Christian families' homes. Fearing further violence, the Christians fled into the forest and took shelter in nearby villages. Quoting again, "We returned to our village only to see the devastation," the survivor continued. "Rubble, broken utensils, scattered clothes, and broken cycles and motorbikes were all around us. Our situation is very pathetic. We are living in broken houses that are just roofless walls. We are also unheard and unattended by the authorities." You can go to persecution.org for more information in helping to pray for Christians not only in India, but around the world. And we would invite you to do so, to stay update on what's going on in the area of Christian persecution that Jesus and the prophets declared would only increase in the last days. That's persecution.org if you're interested in keeping up with what's going on in the Christian world globally, and so that you may more adequately pray for our brethren of the faith, wherever they may be, in their persecution. That's persecution.org. Another report from Christian News Network, which you can go to at christiannews.net. Stone weight used in commerce during First Temple period discovered near Western Wall in Jerusalem. The headline reads, "From Jerusalem, the report comes that a limestone weight that dates to the First Temple era and may have been used in marketplace commerce or for the acquirement of animals to sacrifice was recently discovered in Jerusalem during an excavation near the Western Wall. The weight, inscribed with a symbol representing the word shekel, was found while archaeologists wet-sifted soil from a landfill area as part of a joint project between the Israeli Antiquities Authority and the Western Wall Heritage Foundation." Quoting, "The weight is dome-shaped with a flat base. On the top of the weight is an incised Egyptian symbol resembling a Greek gamma, representing the abbreviated unit shekel. 2 incised lines indicate the double mass, or 2 shekalim," the evacuation director said. You can read more about this at the Christian News Network, and we have posted here the actual link to the page where this story is presented. But just go to christiannews.net for more information on updates in the world from a biblical Christian perspective and Christian worldview. Moving on to a category we call tracking technology from CGTN in China. China to deliver latest BeiDou positioning chip at the end of 2020. And there you have, again, the posted link to that page that you can go to and read for yourself. According to this report out of Beijing, the China Global Television Network, or CGTN, reported on September 3rd the creation and soon mass production of the world's most accurate, high-precision navigation chip. The chip is only 22 nanometers in size, yet it can achieve 1 centimeter or 0.4 inches of accuracy for real-time positioning, according to the report. Utilizing 5G communication, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things, quote, the new generation chip can obtain richer data to provide more accurate positioning and navigation services. The chip can also receive signals from multiple systems, such as the U.S. GPS, the Russian GLONASS, and the European Union's Galileo. Now, this is a remarkable discovery and invention that it's so accurate to get down to 0.4 inches of space. You can't get more accurate than that. And so this is presenting to us another aspect of something that we came upon a couple of years ago. It was only last year in June 2019 that CGTN announced another breakthrough in chip technology, the so-called BrainTalker chip, or mind reader chip. It's part of what's known as brain-to-computer interface, or BCI, which aims to, quote, decode the mental intent of a person by intercepting neural electrical signals without using the body's neuromuscular pathways, the report says. Quoting, the BrainTalker may open the pathway for the civil use of portable and wearable BCIs in areas such as medical treatment, education, home life, and gaming, according to officials at the China Electronics Corporation. Now, I want you to notice something. Their use of the term decode the mental intent of a person, and that this will be used for civil use, excuse me, of portable and wearable devices. Well, it brings to our mind something else that we've come across, but compare these two, the transparency chips, no place to hide technology. From a prophetic perspective of end-time technology that will allow one man to declare himself to be God and to be worshipped around the world as a God. You couple the implantable BrainTalker chip technology merged with the implantable BeiDou positioning chip, and you have a technology that can both locate you with pinpoint accuracy, integrated with individual and crowd control instructions so as to command such herd adoration and worship. See Revelation 13:15, which reads, he had the power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. Well, of course, it raises the question in our mind, how will they know in a world of 7.5 billion individuals who's worshiping him and who's not? This type of combined technology will make that possible because, it literally removes the ability to hide anywhere once these chips are implanted. The San Diego Union Tribune spoke to this. Backed by Amazon, Samsung, and Pepsi-Cola, this local startup intends to ramp up mass production of its Bluetooth technology. Giants in technology and consumer products are funneling more cash into a small tech startup in Rancho Bernardo that's developing tiny Bluetooth stickers that can transform everyday items such as clothing, wallets, or Amazon packages to trackable, connected devices. There again, we've provided the link to that particular page. Moving forward, the article reads, since its inception in 2017, the startup has been designing a Bluetooth chip that would be both small enough to stick on anything and cheap enough to treat as a disposable product. Their chip is the size of a postage stamp. It has no batteries, powered instead by leftover radio signals cascading through the air. The chip can measure temperature, location, and air pressure, then transmit that data back to the cloud. On February 14th, 2012, a report came out. Spray-on antenna gets great reception by Google event. Quoting from phys.org.com, a spray-on antenna? The idea is not fantasy, but real and tested technology that works. A Utah startup has introduced a spray-on signal booster in a can that promises an improved signal. The company suggests that this is a lightweight, easy answer for smartphone users who are frustrated over dropped calls and poor cell phone reception with traditional antennas. The approach can create signal-boosting antennas on nearby walls, trees, or clothes. The spray product was unveiled at Google's Solve for X conference. The company tested the spray on a tree, capture this, among other tests, and the team was able to send a VHF signal up to 14 miles away using only the treated tree. The chief technology officer said the company's spray-on technology could make cell phones work with 10% better efficiency. The antenna spray in a can is clearly a coup for this company, which is holding several patents on its nano spray on antenna technology. Also, soon, satellites will be able to watch you everywhere all the time, and that comes from the MIT Technology Review. So, it reminds us of a Bloomberg Business magazine article, "It's not spying if they're always watching." And that was August 29th, 2016. From the book, New Rules for the New Economy, author Kevin Kelly, he was founder and executive editor of Wired magazine until 1999, he says, quote, "Chips are becoming cheap and tiny enough to slip into every object we make. Eventually, every can of soup will have a chip on its lid. Every light switch will contain a chip. Every book will have a chip embedded in its spine. Every shirt will have at least one chip sewn into its hem. Every item on a grocery shelf will have stuck to it or embedded within itself a button of silicon. Soon, all manufactured items, from sneakers to drill presses to lampshades to cans of soda, will contain a tiny sliver of embedded thought." End of quote. Kind of frightening, isn't it? And here we have the photo of his book, New Rules for the New Economy. But consider a tiny sliver of embedded thought. Going back to our reference earlier to China releasing the chip called the brain chip, the BrainTalker. A tiny sliver of embedded thought. It's part of what's known as brain-to-computer interface, or BCI, which aims to, quote, decode the mental intent, unquote, of a person by intercepting neural electrical signals without using the body's neuromuscular pathways. You're talking about interception, a tiny sliver of embedded thought. It brings our attention to the movie Minority Report in 2002. It was an American science fiction action film set in the year 2054, where pre-crime, a specialized police department, apprehends criminals based on foreknowledge of crimes not yet committed. And I've said this before, that the line separating science fiction from science fact is becoming thinner and thinner in the passing of time. So now we have the ability to decode your intent by way of this very special kind of technology. this threatening technology. Our next slide brings us to the attention of the man who would be God. Quoting 2 Thessalonians 2, verses 1 through 12 with select verses from the Message Bible, the debut of the Antichrist. He will defy and then take over every so-called God or altar. Having cleared away the opposition, he will then set himself up in God's temple as God Almighty. The Antichrist's coming is all Satan's work. All his power and signs and miracles are fake, evil sleight of hand that plays to the gallery of those who hate the truth that could save them. This is the man who's coming forth, who will declare himself to be God. And we've seen his coming for a long, long time. And now we're there, technologically. Going back to Revelation 13:15 in the Message Bible, and there was made an animated image to the Antichrist, that it should both breathe and speak. And it arranged that anyone not worshiping the Antichrist would be killed. So how's that going to be possible in a world of 7.5 billion people? And again, in our next slide, we remind you of that magazine cover of Bloomberg. And in a world of 7.5 billion, how are they going to know who's worshiping and who's not? This is a remarkable unveiling of prophecies that have existed for thousands of years. The people who wrote these prophecies, the prophets, the apostles, they could not see and understand in their day what we today now know. They just saw vaguely. Even Paul made the comment that we see through a glass darkly. So we don't fully understand what the future looks like until you get there. And Jesus had made the comment in Matthew 24 that in this one generation, the generation that saw these things would not pass away until everything had been fulfilled. And that included his second coming. I know I'm probably sounding like a broken record, but I say these things repetitively, redundantly, for the sake of new viewers who haven't become familiar with the type of reports we put out. But I will say this again. Antichrist is pre-Christ. Once this man makes his appearance upon the world, and how are we going to know this? Pay attention to world headlines. Don't avoid the news. Absorb it. Listen to it. Go beyond commentary and editorializing. Go beyond the passionate responses that many people give to what they see in the news. They don't understand the block, the prophetic block and outline that we present to you here, and not just us only. There are many, many other prophetic ministries that you should be paying attention to. I'm not a unique soldier here. But I've dedicated my entire life to doing what the Lord told me to do back in the early 70s. Read the world. And that's why I've collected what I've done in my library of books, magazines, VIPs. You can go back a few programs and see our report on that. That this is the time of the new era. Our parents didn't quite understand it. I know my grandfather used to talk about it a lot, but he didn't fully understand. If you recall back during the Depression, Adolf Hitler was the Antichrist, as far as a lot of Bible teachers were concerned. He even went so far as to implant in the flesh a number. So these were all telltale signs. And yet we came through that period, and a lot of people fell away from the faith at that time. They blamed the teachers of prophecy, of not knowing what they were talking about. And so a lot of people stopped going to church. once the Depression was over. And a whole new generation and a half to 2 generations came forth. So what makes this one so different? Because there was things to occur in the last days that were only to occur one time. And as I've said on a number of occasions, the difference between this era and all the other eras, the difference between the empire that's coming and all the preceding empires, is one main thing: technology. Past empires grew as large as they could, as they were able to manage and administrate. But they couldn't maintain the fullness of what they had gained because of the lack of technology. We are now in that era where technology is bursting forth and exploding. There's no limits to where this technology is going to take us. For instance, the image of the beast, spoken of in Revelation 13. We've had images of leaders before, statues, things of this nature. But never has one come alive, as is referred to in Revelation 13:15, that they're going to create a living, breathing image, fake, a replica of the world leader, the president of earth, the Antichrist. And it will be so perfect, the public will believe it to be real. Now, how do I know? Because again, in Revelation 13, we're told twice that the world worships the beast, the Antichrist. The third time, they're worshiping the image of the beast. People tend not to change their religions that quickly unless they've been deceived. And here this image is going to be so convincing that people will shift their worship to it and not know that that's what they're doing. And again, specifically, going back to Revelation 13:15, that he will have the power to kill those who do not worship the image of the beast. So it will be extremely deceptive. It will look like, act like, talk like, sound like a real human being. It will walk. Now, we've got evidence of that already in use today, using humanoids as lookalikes to their real-life professors in several different colleges. And these humanoids walk the halls. They converse with the students. I was told one time, a long time ago, by a rather well-known, popular TV celebrity here in Houston, a newsman, upon his visit to Disneyland and the halls of the presidents. And as we talked about it, I asked him, I said, how real do they appear? And he talked about how Abraham Lincoln got up from his chair, walked to the podium, and spoke. And he said it was so lifelike. Now, this was back in the 70s when we had this conversation. He said that humanoid was so lifelike, if it were walking down the street today, I couldn't tell if it was real or not. That's how real it was. And they've enhanced and improved that technology ever since. And we've done a presentation on this show already, looking into that. It's one of our more popular reports. And I'll update you as we go forward into having another show on that. How artificial intelligence is more intelligent than it is artificial. But it's very, very deceptive. And we're in that day. Talk in Hollywood has already come to the point where discussion is being given to replacing real high-priced actors with their computerized software images and lookalikes, and how the viewing public will never know the difference. So this is part of the magic that is surrounding us technologically. And for a man to come forward and dare to declare himself to be God and prove it, The Caesars of Rome, they called themselves God, and they were worshipped, but there was nothing needed to prove their claim other than their dictatorial command. But in today's sophisticated world, the world won't be satisfied with just seeing a statue of a leader and worshiping it. No. They have to be deceived. And that's what Jesus said, that in those last days, if it were possible, even the very elect would be deceived. That's how real the deception is. So for him to pull this off, he's got to have omnipotence, omnipresence, omniscience, just like God. Technology of fallen man gives him that ability. And there's one more omni that you can add to that list, omnivalence. Surveillance everywhere. Inescapable. And then add to that the technology that we've seen thus far in today's report, total transparency, bar none. So this is the day. This is the time frame. That man is going to make his appearance very, 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 very soon. I've already gone on record to say probably in less than 10 years. I'm counting on that. I'm expecting that. And with him comes a technological world that he'll be able to find you and address you. There's already been experimentation of holograms on your cell phones that he'll be able to pop up and address you by name. This is not fantasy anymore. This goes way beyond conspiracy theory. It's technological reality and fact. And it begs the question, what are you going to do with the one who prophesied this would happen and that the generation that saw these things would not pass away? There's not future generations yet to come after this one in which all this is being fulfilled. What awaits us is the millennial reign of Christ as he returns to put an end to the kingdom of the Antichrist. What will you do with Jesus Christ? And those of us who claim to be Christians, how serious are we going to become in our claim of being disciples? I'm Wally Wood. This is the Revelation File Report. I thank you for listening, and we'll see you again in our next report.
You have been watching the Revelation File Report with Wally Wood, a Wally Wood Ministries production from Houston, Texas. You are able to support the ministry by donating at wallywoodministries.com and by mail at Wally Wood Ministries, P.O. Box 42005, Houston, Texas 77242. Wally is available to present full 2-hour forums in your city called the Revelation File News Forum. For more details, contact Andy Valadez at 713-560-3348 or by email at andy@andyvaladez.com. The Revelation File News Report is a weekly update of global trends in the news as it aligns with end-time Bible prophecy. Tune in again next time and be sure to like and share this channel.